We have barely begun to dig through all the old videos of Joe Biden that are being unearthed on a number of different topics, and we've got one now from 2006. He was giving a speech and it had to do with immigration and drugs. And take a look at the way that he talks about this particular issue. It might remind you of politicians in the modern era just a little bit.
I voted for a fence. I voted unlike most Democrats, and some of you won't like it. I voted for 700-mile fence. But let me tell you, we can build a fence 40 stories high unless it changes the dynamic in Mexico. And you will not like this. And punish American employers who knowingly violate the law when in fact they hire illegals. Unless you do those two things, all the rest is window dressing. Now I know I'm not supposed to say it that bluntly, but they're the facts. They're the facts. And so everything else we do is in between here. Everything else we do is at the margins. The reason why why I believe the fence is needed is not related to immigration as much as to drugs. I'm the guy that wrote the National Crime Bill. I'm the guy that wrote the National Drug Track. I'm the guy that wrote the law that set up a drug czar. But let me tell you something, folks. People are driving across that border with tons, hear me, tons of everything from byproducts from methamphetamine to cocaine to heroin. It's all coming up through corrupt Mexico.
Okay, so that was 2006, it was not the 80s, it was not the 90s. It wasn't that long ago. Now, there's a lot in there. And I believe we were talking during the video. I think that's a Rotary Club that he's talking to.
It looks like it.
Or it's people who are also in a Rotary Club in any event. And so look, he's talking about immigration, he's talking about fencing, he's talking about drugs, and just gotta call it like it is. A lot of the ways that he was talking about it do sound a lot like Donald Trump. You don't think that's fair?
I don't think this is fair at all.
I don't think it's 100% like that.
I just don't.
And I will give Biden credit in a couple of ways, but okay, first you say.
It's just not fair. And I feel like I've learned a lot about this man just by some of these videos that have unearthed and how gross they've been. But if anything, he has been very clear on how awful Donald Trump has been on immigration. He has been very clear. And so without context of and listen, I get it. There are some things that I feel like are unforgivable, but he and Bernie Sanders both voted for a horrible crime bill that horribly, I mean, he drew it, but that horribly affected
Bernie
Black
said
Americans.
at the time that he was voting for it because of the protections for women against domestic abuse.
And it still harmed Black Americans.
That's true.
Kamala was the crime bill. Elizabeth Warren was, jokes, but I think that all of them have made huge mistakes in the past. And my biggest issue with Joe Biden is that there are a lot of mistakes he's made in the past that we're learning about that he hasn't said anything about. This is something that before this video even came out, a year ago, we knew where he stood on Dreamers, more than a year ago. We've known where he stood on family separations, where he stood on undocumented servicemen and women. So it's a little unfair. He's a really, really old man who has changed his mind on
okay, that's fine, and we can make that decision. But again,
this
is not 1994. This is 2006.
Yeah, but it's 2019. It was 13 years ago.
I understand that. Okay, well, at least let me go through some of the concerns that I have. First of all, that he uses the term illegals.
Right.
That's a Republican thing. We don't do that. Okay, it's 2006. I would like to imagine that people would have not called them illegals at that point. Look, people are gonna have an issue with the fact that he, like Hillary Clinton, was very supportive of border fencing or whatever. There is a distinction between fencing and a wall. It's not a big distinction. It seems kind of similar. It's cheaper, I guess, but it's the same sort of idea. The idea that people are just driving tons of drugs across the border. I mean, how many videos have we done here at the Damage Report disputing Donald Trump's assertion that that's what's happening? We know the stats from the DEA show that that's not actually the way that drugs are getting across, that you don't need to you don't need a fence across a gulch to stop people from driving their F-150 with meth in the back. That's not actually how it works, but he was advancing those same sorts of ideas back then. He has a little bit more nuance. He says that you can't just make a border fence, you also have to target US employers who are employing these people. I personally don't think that that's a gigantic problem that needs to be fixed, but at least for a Republican to admit that would be a little bit more consistent. So I guess he's doing that to some extent. But none of what he's saying to this group implies an overwhelming concern for the actual people.
Right.
And his policy solutions are not dissimilar from what most Republicans, if not Donald Trump, are in pursuit of right now. Now, it is true, perhaps he has changed his theories on border fencing and security and things like that.
Perhaps.
But it's not like this was the 90s.
I get it, but what do you want?
This was what he believed when he was in power.
Right, but he's always been in power.
No, but I'm saying in the White House specifically.
It was 06, right?
I understand that. That's right before he becomes vice president.
Right, but he wasn't in power in the White House.
Yes.
So we can't say that he was.
But we also can't assume that in 2 years he drastically changed his mind on immigration.
Well, look what they did for Dreamers. You think that he didn't support that? You think he was completely against it?
I'm not saying this guy despises immigrants. I'm saying that we have to use what we have, and what we have is a guy who, when he's in a group of people who look like they belong to a Rotary Club, he's saying that we have to deal with illegals, and I believe that they're driving drugs across the border.
Right, but when he's helping lead the country, he's protecting them. So I mean, I feel like it's not.
Okay,
we have to be fair, because
we have to consider
when we're
both.
not fair about major and massive changes and policy changes that people have made, it minimizes our effectiveness when there's a video and there's information that hasn't been rectified. That right there has overwhelmingly been rectified.
Specifically about border fencing and walls and things like that,
okay.
I will have to see. Yes, we have to consider both the good and the bad. Anybody who sees just this video and says that you should never support him and vote for Donald Trump, obviously that's crazy.
Nobody should say that, period, right?
That last part, right? But I will also add that just to put another dot in the history of his relationship with that crime bill, he was bragging about having led the charge in 2006.
Listen, and we're still
quite
not
a while
past
later.
That. We're still not past that. There's a lot. I mean, but this, I'm for me at least personally, am past that. He helped lead the country when they made decisions specifically to protect Dreamers. And he spoke out on his own. Of course, he knew he was gonna run for president. We didn't know, we thought. But years ago, he spoke out against, a year ago, he spoke out against family separations.
Okay.
So I just don't, this is not fair for me.
I consider that, like, again, ground floor.
It is,
like, if
absolutely,
you can't speak
but
out against family
not
separation.
Being like this is ground floor for me too. And so the fact that he is not, I don't think he should get extra credit. I just think it's unfair to push down on him because of that if he's come back to the bare minimum.
We have a lot of candidates, and I'm assuming that most of them in 2006 weren't talking like this.
A lot of them in 2006 were saying all kinds of other wild stuff though that they shouldn't have said.
Okay, we will continue to go through that. In fact, we have one right now actually that we're gonna turn to.
Okay.
Well, it's actually more recent than that. Anyway, that's just giving you an idea. It's out there. Again, as Brooke is pointing out, you have to weigh the stuff from these videos with what they're saying now, and we will see if he is a strong advocate for not funding border walls and tearing down what's there, then that would be strong evidence that he's moved on from this position. So we will be on the lookout for that. Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.